Well, first I got involved in hydrogen back in 2009. I was just reading and studying, and I came across an article published in 2007 in Nature Medicine by Dr. Ota, who you just interviewed. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. So I looked at all the research, all the studies. There wasn't a lot at that time, maybe 20, 30 articles, but it was very interesting. And then in 2013, I had the opportunity to go to Nagoya, here in Japan, and do an internship and research some of the molecular mechanisms of hydrogen, see with my own eyes that hydrogen gas really is exerting changes on a cellular level. And it was that time that I had the opportunity to meet Professor Ota. I went to his lab, and it was so great. We got there, and he got some wine glasses, and not wine, I don't drink, but he poured hydrogen water, and we sat around talking about this hydrogen molecule as we drank hydrogen water together and enjoyed such a wonderful conversation. And when I returned back home in 2013, I thought, I saw some amazing things. I believe in this research, that this needs to be out to the public. This hydrogen is really something that has the potential to help so many people, and I wanted to educate people. And at the time, nobody knew anything about hydrogen gas being beneficial or therapeutic, only that it was explosive. So I started a website. At the time, it was just a website called Molecular Hydrogen Institute, and I started educating people about the benefits of hydrogen. I put the studies on there, I wrote some articles. Then, as things started going forward, I started getting invited to go speak at conferences. First in Beijing we are seeing these clinical studies, not just animal studies, which were very impressive themselves, but actual human clinical studies showing that hydrogen gas can not only slow down or prevent the decline in cognitive impairments, but actually lead to improvements. To me, that's amazing. And similar with stroke, cerebral infarction, what's going on with the post-cardiac arrest syndrome. The Japanese government in 2016, back in November, approved the inhalation of hydrogen gas as advanced medicine so they could do a major clinical trial with over 360 patients in 20 different hospitals so they could determine the effects and benefits of hydrogen gas for this post-cardiac arrest syndrome. So I think this is really setting major changes in the medical community. But then just for people like you and me that are healthy, that want to live a better life, the research is coming out on just exercise performance, whether it be improved recovery and endurance and exercise capacity. These are small things but are significant, especially for those who are really trying to get the cutting edge, right? Get some more energy, get yet another bout of exercise in to push themselves harder and to recover faster. And then also the fact that just drinking hydrogen water, everyone drinks water, right? So you can just drink hydrogen water, and in one of the studies with healthy patients, not patients, healthy people, right, healthy subjects, they drank the water and they had improvements in mood and anxiety and decreased stress, which to me is so great. We published a study in Scientific Reports showing that hydrogen can increase the resilience to acute and chronic stress in mice, and we exposed them to forced swimming and changing their so they can't sleep at all, and changing their food, like a whole bunch of things to cause all the stress. And those that drank hydrogen water, well, they fared a lot better, had a lot more resilience to the stress. And now again, we're seeing this transfer into these clinical studies with normal, healthy people who are just exposed to the stress of daily life, and they're able to drink hydrogen water. They have lower sympathetic nerve activation, so they're more, so being more parasympathetic, more relaxed, more calm. That's so good for you. Just drinking hydrogen water can do that. So these are the things that really excite me, that can really benefit people, not just those patients that are sick and need help and preventing, but just healthy people already, to have them live a higher quality of life. It's interesting. Professor Sun from China, he's kind of the pioneer in China. He kind of has this quote, I'm not sure how it translates in English, but essentially, we need oxygen to breathe, and we need oxygen to live, but we need hydrogen to live well. And I think that really sums up the benefits of hydrogen in many ways.
What are some of the foods, this is so exciting and so fascinating, what are some of the foods that we can eat that will produce more hydrogen in our bodies?
Well, listen to your mother. So your mother say, eat your fruits and your vegetables, because these contain fibers and these non-digestible carbohydrates. And when they're metabolized by our intestinal bacteria, that bacteria produces hydrogen gas. And so research has shown that hydrogen gas indeed is therapeutic. It has beneficial effects. So it's really good to eat those fibers. But it's also very curious, and it's one of the enigmas in hydrogen research, because when you compare eating fibers and producing a lot of hydrogen gas that way compared to just drinking hydrogen water, which
safety of it, right? It seems so new, even though the research, as you mentioned, Dr. Ota has been researching it for over 13 years. The research is there. It's really culminating.
Are you wanting to turn back the hands of time? Are you looking for the fountain of youth? Well, aging is a natural and inevitable process that no one can escape. But there is hope. There are things we can learn from science about the aging process. Molecular hydrogen can play a very profound role in that process. Okay, so it looks like we identified plenty of the potential factors in the process of aging. But this isn't an aging video. This is an anti-aging video. So let's see if hydrogen can do something about all this aging over here. In one particular study, they observed anti-aging effects of hydrogen water on oxidative damage. H2 has been shown to mitigate oxidative stress and may exhibit anti-inflammatory and anti-apoptotic effects. Speaking of inflammation, drinking hydrogen-rich water is proposed here to be effective in suppressing negative effects resulting from aging and inflammation. Actually, we did a whole video about hydrogen benefits for inflammation. They exposed cells to a toxin that decreased its NAD+ levels and impaired SIRT1 activity. But when hydrogen was introduced to the cells, the NAD plus levels and SIRT1 activity was maintained. This means hydrogen protects the cells from damage that leads to the decrease in NAD plus levels. So let's keep going. In this article, we learned that H2 has a long-lasting antioxidant and anti-aging effect through the NRF2 pathway. It even goes so far to say that hydrogen-rich water may be a functional drink that increases longevity. Next, hydrogen water also increases telomerase activity. Increased telomerase activity caused by hydrogen water may be able to protect telomeres from degradation. This suggests the possible use of hydrogen water in therapeutic interventions of age-related diseases. The finding of this study indicates that the mechanism of hydrogen may be associated with the upregulation of the SIRT1 enzyme. And this study reported that hydrogen treatment could upregulate the expression of the SIRT3 enzyme, along with enhancing the activity of antioxidant enzymes and reduce inflammatory response. In fact, this study mentions that hydrogen treatment could upregulate all 7 sirtuin levels. The results from this study indicates that H2 is able to reduce DNA damage and prevent premature cellular senescence in the lungs. This study shows the antioxidant and anti-senescence effects of hydrogen water. It goes on to state that because of this, hydrogen water is potentially a potent anti-aging agent. According to this, it's highly likely that hydrogen is involved in maintaining the redox status of the cell, making it able to suppress cellular senescence and individual aging. It says, therefore, H2 may be involved in the suppression of aging. So, I know you didn't get any younger by watching this video, but hopefully you learned something new and have a better.
When oxygen causes free radical damage, hydrogen swoops in, neutralizes it, and turns it into water. It's actually just like the fountain of youth. And the cool thing is that it literally stops free radicals in their tracks and turns them into water. You know what that's going to do for your skin. It's going to leave you plump, smooth, and super hydrated.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Pushing the Limits. This week I have Alex Tanava with me, and Alex is an expert on everything molecular hydrogen. You probably maybe never heard of molecular hydrogen, but we're going to dive into the backstory of this amazing a tablet that Alex has developed and has patents on, and really, really interesting stuff. So Alex is sitting in Vancouver, lovely Vancouver. Welcome to the show, Alex. Great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, Alex, before we got on here, we were talking a little bit about your backstory, but yeah, give the listeners a bit of a backstory as to how the heck did you get into molecular hydrogen?
Yeah, so this is not quite 9 years ago, but 8.5, 9 years ago. And I got really sick, and I didn't know what I had. But the genesis of more mitochondria is made, and now with more energy available in our cells, a lot of reactions happen. So the interesting thing with hydrogen is it only works when something is dysregulated. So if you put hydrogen on a completely healthy cell tissue where everything is perfect, no changes occur.
Uh-huh.
Now you artificially damage that same healthy cell, and then you add the hydrogen medium, and you see all these changes start occurring. Or if you put the healthy cell in a hydrogen medium, and then you try and damage, you see strong protective effect.
Wow. So it's modulating rather than, so it's modulating rather than...
Hydrogen regulates the redox status within the cell. So kind of the harmony between the oxidative stress and the antioxidants. So it regulates beneficial oxidative stressors and nitrosative stressors as well, like nitric oxide, as well as regulating antioxidant production by our NRF2 pathway. So hydrogen will regulate our production of glutathiones, superoxide dismutase, and catalase.
Wow.
Also play a role in regulation of like H2O2, nitric oxide, some of these stressors. Likewise, estrogen kind of increases inflammation in its myokine role, just like exercise does. When you exercise, it slightly bumps up your inflammation. Then your anti-inflammatory cytokines reverse that, and you have a net anti-inflammatory effect. Hydrogen seems to do the same thing. This is particularly important with athletes because often athletes, especially if you're trying to build muscle, are advised not to take any antioxidants or anti-inflammatories because they will basically stop the gains you make from exercise.
Exactly, yeah.
You want those, exactly. You want the acute stressors along with exercise, which causes a rebound to strengthen at a healthier level. There's been some cool research on hydrogen in rodents where they'll have a control group doing 4 swims and a hydrogen group doing 4 swims. And they analyze, and the acute stress that happens immediately after and during exercise is higher in the hydrogen group. So it's as if they work higher, but they rebound to homeostasis faster. So it's like they worked out harder and recovered quicker. Right? So hydrogen has potentiated the effects of exercise that way.
So for athletes, this would mean that you could train harder and get better effects, so like you not hit the overtraining problem that we otherwise hit.
That's what the research indicates. Both preclinical and clinical research. There's a strong anti-fatigue effect. A systematic review and meta-analysis just found hydrogen and fatigue, reduced fatigue greatly. There's been a number of studies found with athletes after competitions, multiple days of intensive exercise, stuff like that hydrogen improves the redox status, once recovery starts setting in. So there is evidence for both of these. And anecdotally from a lot of the professional and amateur athletes that use the tablets, they're finding that too, that it doesn't really help them day 1, day 2, maybe by the end of a week of training, they start seeing a fatigue reduction and they start feeling less sore.
Wow.
Right? One of our trials using the hydrogen tablets topically found a significant reduction in delayed onset muscle soreness, right? And also it protected against the rise in creatine kinase, so protected against muscle damage. or say like distance athletes, like runners and athletes. We've tested in some various like running groups inside, and it's been interesting that
Now, friends, we're making hydrogen-rich water. We have food-grade malic acid. We have a test tube, a natural cork stopper. The natural cork stopper has a small hole in it, probably about a 1/32 of an inch drill bit. Works on this. You don't have to drill a hole in the cork stopper unless the cork is too dense. Hydrogen should be able to pass through the cork, but this cork is particularly dense, and so the hole allows the gas to withstand and come out of the test tube rather than blowing the top off of this when the reaction is occurring. We have a magnesium rod. We have some clean drinking water and a plastic bottle. So the procedure for this is simply, here we go, 1/4 teaspoon of malic acid into the test tube, drop in the magnesium rod. We're going to fill this up to about an inch below the rim of the test tube, about like so. And we're going to place this stopper on here. And as soon as you do this, the reaction is occurring. You can see this bubbling. And hydrogen gas is now leaving out of the top of this cork. So we need to get this done as soon as possible. We carefully drop that whole situation into the bottle here. And now we're going to simply fill this up. And when you fill this, you want this to be to the brim, because we don't want any airspace in the bottle. So I like to do this such that it overflows a little bit. And you can see, if you get it completely full, the water's a little concave on the top. That's what we want. And you can see the bubbles coming out of here. That's the hydrogen gas. So we want to make sure this is topped off. And we immediately place this lid and screw this baby down tight, because we want this pressure to build. That's what's going to drive the hydrogen gas into the water. But what we're going to do immediately is we're going to put this in the freezer for 30 minutes. The freezer down here. The freezer will supercool this, allow for a better reaction, and in 30 minutes, when we take that out, we're going to gently agitate it for about 2 minutes. That's going to really supercharge the reaction for the last few minutes, and then we'll be able to open that and drink the water. When you open the bottle, drink the water as soon as possible. Or if you're not going to drink it right away, leave the top on, because hydrogen gas has a half-life in the water of about 2 hours. So as soon as you open that lid and break the seal, that gas is going to start to evaporate into the atmosphere, and you want most of it in your body rather than in the sky. So drink it quickly or don't open the lid. Thanks.
This has made a chemical reaction between malic acid in water and a pure magnesium rod. What I want to do is basically show you how to make hydrogen-rich water. It has application in all kinds of therapeutic benefits across the board. But this is just basically designed to show you how to make this on your own at home, simple and easy. What I'm using here are acrylic bottles that can handle high pressure. I've got a stainless steel funnel here. I have a 1/2 teaspoon substance called malic acid. So this is an acid that we're going to use to react to these pure magnesium rods. There are different sources for magnesium rods. They're not all the same. So you have to really trust your source. Get a certificate of analysis to make sure that they are 99.99% pure magnesium. To make this reaction occur, we have to use a hot water. It doesn't have to be absolutely boiling. And all I do is I just pour a little bit of this bad boy into there, not a whole lot. And right away you'll see them you'll start to hear them fizz. All I'm doing is I'm just rolling these around until they get kind of shiny and uniform. Okay, so you can see here, nice and shiny. Just going to wash these off. First step is just to make sure your rods are nice and clean and ready to go. 1 into one, drop 2 into the other, drop 3 into the other. I was just going ahead and put some malic acid in each one. I use a level 1/2 teaspoon. Use the funnel always with the camera. As soon as that hits in there, it's going to start making a reaction. You'll be able to see the bubbles. And what I do is I go ahead and take these and I stick them in the freezer. We've taken these out of the freezer. They've cooled down. We're going to go ahead and test each one of these here. Boom, turns blue. And then if I agitate it, and the blue goes away. Okay, so that's 1. So with that one, we got to 0.7. I have found in how I do this is that by adding more rods does not make that much higher of a concentration when you're putting it into these vials. This thing is still outgassing, and so that reaction hasn't stopped. Quite frankly, if you leave these to absolutely get to cold, you will see these get up to 2 to 3 parts per million. I recommend that you just use 2 rods and let it go completely to not fizzing anymore. In that range, you're going to get about 2.5 to 3 parts per million per little liter do here with 2 grams of malic acid in there. There are a couple of benefits you're getting free hydrogen and magnesium malate at the same time. A lovely water to consume. I don't do these all the time myself. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Make sure you live life in balance.